All right. And we are right at time. I think everybody can see my screen. I lost my little red box, but I think you can see it anyway. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Here we go. Cross your fingers. Oops. Oh, no, I skipped it. There we go. All right. And if you want to participate, go ahead and unmute your mic. I'll click through. Amy, this is just something Rotarians do all around the world, no matter what country you go to. A million, I don't know, 1,000,004, right? 1,000,004 Rotarians around the world are doing this all the time. So here we go. The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Truth.
Is it fair to all
concerned?
Will it
be
Will goodwill
better friendships?
Will
Is
it
it
be
beneficial to all
concerned?
That sounded pretty darn good. I'm not going to lie.
Good on the last one. Yeah. Hey,
That was really good. That was
we'll
really
take
good.
it.
We do have a very special guest, and I'll save that introduction for a few more minutes. But just looking around really quick, while I'm talking, Amy, just so you know, we have folks right now from Southern France, Northern Europe, the Netherlands. We have Georgia, we have Florida, we have representatives from Ireland, but in the U.S. and Florida. We have Virginia. Gosh, we are all over the place today. This is
West
fantastic.
Virginia.
West Virginia. Can't get those mistakes. West Virginia, and we'll be recording this, Amy, and posting this to our YouTube as well. So I'm expecting to see lots and lots of extra views after today. For announcements, I wrote myself a little note to tell you this is Vocational Services Month. And a little side note, that was why we had our meeting last week with our dear Rotarian brother from Haiti, currently living in Philadelphia. The reason that I had arranged for that one was specifically because this was Vocational Services Month, and I'm really excited to see what we can do with our friends in Haiti. That's kind of our backyard here in Florida. What we can do to help them and perhaps even help them kickstart some vocational services down there through Rotary. Other announcements from the group, if you have any. I'm not going to cut you off if you do want to pop in, but don't forget the 28th of this month, if you're in driving distance and you want to drive up Roger or you want to drive down everybody else, please do let me know. I would be happy to go out and get lunch with you or hang out with you or just sit next to you and take notes on your behalf or copy yours, whatever works out. There is going to be a district training seminar. There's going to be a pre-pets there. So a plug for our non-existent position of president-elect starting July. If you have any ideas on who could fill that position for us, it would be much, much appreciated. Remember, we need a president-elect starting July of this year. We have elected, per the newsletter, Jen. Congratulations, Jen. Jen's going to be our president-elect nominee. So as you may recall from the bylaws, we elect our president-elect 1 year in advance, so they have a preparation time before they have to begin. And Jen,
everyone may need more than a year to prepare for me.
But we do need that help, and no fear, Denise. I promise we will find somebody. So when Denise takes over as president July 1st, we will absolutely, definitely, 100% have somebody to help her out as a president-elect. But if you have
join
any
me, join my team. I have cookies.
Join Denise. She needs a sidekick. So, okay. With that, I will go ahead and skip over to our Sergeant at Arms. Now, Ed is not going to be able to join us today. He's got some remodeling, some renovation, and some house prep for the sale going on. So we can make this quick. Let's get the nasty, bad stuff out of the way. How about some sad bucks? And Amy, just for the record, we don't expect anything from you, but this is our chance to share as Rotarians. If we were meeting in a group, like at a restaurant, this is where we would actually hold up dollars and share about what's going on in our life since the last call. So sad bucks. Anybody have a sad buck? Ailish?
Yes, I have a sad buck for what's happening in California, the floods and people dying and people losing everything. And it's not all confined to very wealthy areas. Like Northern California is not wealthy and they're suffering dreadfully. And there's another storm to come in tonight with much more rain apparently than they've had up to now. So there's been flooding and landslides and people dying. People dying. A 5-year-old was drowned. I think was drowned yesterday, and it's just appalling. It's awful.
Goodness, I didn't even know. So thank you for telling me, and I will go look it up
Yeah.
now. I'm kind of a hermit. I don't read the news very often. Jula?
Yeah, I have I'm gonna call it a lighthearted sad dollar. We still don't have a QR code so we can pay happy dollars, and I would really like one back.
Amen. Mike?
This is kind of an apology dollar. I have been lax in following up with Roger to do his member spotlight. He was nice enough to send me his bio back in November, and he's been traveling and I've had things going on, and I'm sorry that I've been lax, and I'm going to track him down by phone, and maybe by next Tuesday we'll have a member spotlight for Roger.
Well, just for that, Michael, you should be our president-elect.
I've done this twice. I am done.
All right. Okay. Well, good try. Good try, Jula.
Get them any way we can.
Who did we lose?
Who's not here?
So who did we lose?
Linda was not able to, she was not able to fulfill the office this coming year.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's switch it up a little bit. We'll save the happy for the end. How about birthdays and anniversaries? No birthdays and anniversaries?
Not yet.
You got one, Roy?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Next.
All right. Good. All right. Now let's do happy bucks. Happy bucks. Well, we got to be happy about something. I forgot a sad buck.
Georgia.
I have a happy dollar.
Go ahead, Jen, and then Jula.
I am grateful for this beautiful weather we're having in Central Florida. So
Oh my
it
gosh,
has
yes.
been beautiful here. I've loved it. And my body is angry because I have punished it doing yard work for like 3 days in a row. So my body's glad to be inside on a Rotary Club meeting because it's not outside getting punished doing yard work. So
Love it.
that's my
Love
happy
it.
dollar.
Love it. Carla, my wife, just finished. She cleaned the windows. She did everything in the patio yesterday. She surprised me. So I can't wait to go have dinner outside on the lanai, all screened in. I'm right there with you. I agree. Jula?
Yeah, I have a happy dollar. I will be leaving 2 weeks from today for the Netherlands, which of course where Denise lives. So I'll see Denise again in a couple weeks. But while I'm there, the reason for my trip is really pretty much all Rotary. I will go to IHE Delft for a couple days. I think we're there 3 days, touring the school. I will meet Boda. I don't know if you guys remember our speaker from Uzbekistan that we had.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I will actually meet her. I think on Thursday I'm meeting her. So, and then Friday evening we're having the water summit and actually a fundraiser to raise money to send students to the IHE Delft school. And then the finale will be, I'll head up to Amsterdam, which was where I will see Denise and her parents and some other Rotarians, of course, for the 100 years of Rotary in the Netherlands. So I'm very excited.
Wow.
We do have to figure out how to get tickets for that, Jula, because I have no idea.
Yeah, you guys do things different than we do, but we'll figure it out.
Crash the party. Crash the party. Do a Facebook Live.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do it the Rotarian way.
This is Jula.
Yeah,
As a Jula, I wonder, do you need someone to carry your bags?
I would love someone to carry my bag, but how about if I carry the bag and you just come along?
Well, I'd love to. I'd love to, honey. It's a long time since I was in the Netherlands. Long time.
It's a beautiful country. I love it.
I know. I agree.
Connie, I see your hand up there.
Yes, I do have a happy dollar. I am back to work. Yay. And I'm working for the county in their natural resources department. So I have quite a selection for possible speakers.
Oh, I'm so
Awesome.
happy about that, Connie, because
Yeah.
that was something that I had to address actually today, because we have to work on getting speakers. So
I've
Well-
got 68 to choose from.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
it's funny, Connie, that you mentioned that because that happens to be the job of the president-elect. Huh. Can we put that together?
I think Connie am I correct? I'm not missing this. Connie, are you also going to be serving in an official capacity?
Yes.
I'm going to be secretary for the next 2
So-
years.
Yep. So congratulations again to Connie.
Yeah.
If you read the newsletter, Connie's going to be our secretary. So thank you so much for that commitment, Connie.
Thank
We
you.
really, really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So,
All
Denise, did you get the link that I sent you for the Women of the Wild at the Brevard Zoo as a possible speaker?
Yes, I think I got it, and I sort of neglected it. I'm so sorry. I have to get back to that.
Yeah, because they would be excellent.
Yeah, I have to get back to that. So, and really anybody who has an idea for a speaker, you're free to arrange the speaker. DACDB is all up to date. So if you see an open date on DACDB, it is available. Yeah, just send me an email with the speaker and the date, and I'm going to add it to the calendar for you.
Denise, if I could ask you please to remind me, I got a guy to speak. He's a professor, and he agreed to speak. And I have a feeling it's sometime in January, but I just can't recall at the moment. Do you recall that?
I do not. I am sorry. Does Sam perhaps know something about it?
I was only going to ask because I know we do have our guest speaker here kind of standing by. Maybe that's something we could do via email and catch up on that, or just send ideas to Denise or to myself or whomever via email.
Yeah, good
Okay.
idea.
And Denise, I did see your hand up for Happy Buck as well. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, I was gonna say I'm happy that I'm going to see Jula, and I am very happy for Susie, who is in Copenhagen, living sort of my dream actually. She's visiting all those Michelin star restaurants, and she's
No.
actually going to visit Noma today, which was a dream of mine. And unfortunately, they are closing down after this year, so
Oh my
so
God.
she's really, really, really lucky. But then again, I also saw what it costs to eat there. It's I think it's 500 euros per person for just your dinner.
Wow.
Wow.
So, but she's gonna have a grand time, I can assure you. So yeah, that's I'm only slightly jealous, but I'm mostly very happy for her.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, with that, I'm gonna warn you in advance. So we have a wonderful guest. That's not the warning. We have a wonderful guest today, but we're gonna start it with something that I hope I can make it through. So you know, I've watched videos like these many times, and it's something that I think I hope will be very engaging for you. This is a short video, and then we're going to do a quick introduction to our guest speaker. So without further ado, I'm going to press play. And if I could just ask of, say, Roy or Mike or Amy, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. So here it goes.
Yep.
So this is the target establishment. First suspect, view for our victims.
And remember, if there's a hazard or dangerous situation, move yourself to a position of comfort.
Chief, hand over to the police.
We saw about 1,200 little kids and found out that they were in fact trafficked and they were in fact slaves. These little kids are on this boat. They are not fed. They are abused beyond imagination.
We got Joshua. This is the girl. Whenever something like this comes, I imagine in my mind that girl is found.
We have operations all over the world, rescuing people from slavery. Because today there are criminals who abuse children, sell girls.
How old is she? 12. 12? How much? 30? Yeah, I'm afraid.
And force families into slavery. Criminals prey on the easiest target, the world's poor, because they expect no one to defend them.
Pareho po tayong mga tao. Hindi po tayo bagay or hayop na pwedeng gamitin lang sa pansarili.
But today, there are thousands of people gathering to seek justice for those in slavery. We are a group of lawyers, counselors, activists, and supporters. We are called International Justice Mission. And together, we form the largest international anti-slavery organization in the world. But slavery won't come to an end until criminals know they can't get away with it. So we partner with local police to arrest and prosecute criminals. This sends a message to slave owners. We will not go away. We stay with the survivors until they are healed, until they are free.
Natulungan po ako ng IJM sa pamamagitan po na sa case ko, sa pagtulong po nila na ma-overcome ko po yung fear.
Each year, we rescue thousands of slaves and protect millions around the world. We are transforming how justice systems protect their citizens. To those who are still enslaved, we promise to find you. We will get you home to your families so you can have the freedom you deserve.
I had to put a slide in to give myself a little time here, so sorry. So our speaker today is Amy. Amy serves as the Engagements Project Lead on the North American Partnership Team for International Justice Mission. In her role at IJM, she works with external partners to bring them deeper into the work and helps equip them with resources to speak about IJM in their own communities. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Georgia Tech. She has built a career around working with partners to create sustainable processes and innovative solutions that move them forward into new spaces. She resides in Washington, D.C., and in her free time, you can find her going for walks and exploring new restaurants and coffee shops with friends. Please welcome Amy Lee. Thank you, Amy.
Thanks so much, Sam. And just so grateful to be here. I am just overjoyed, and I know that it can be a heavy topic to talk about, but just really appreciative of you guys just carving out some time during your meeting to hear from me. So just like Sam said, I'm Amy, and I have the pleasure of being the Engagements Project Lead for our partnerships team here at International Justice Mission, and just wanted to share about IJM with you today. So according to the International Labor Organization, the number of people in modern slavery has actually risen significantly in the last 5 years. Currently, there are over 50 million people who are currently trapped in slavery right now. So it's right now just more important than ever to join the fight of justice. And today I wanted to share with you how IJM, International Justice Mission, alongside people like you and me, can help to end slavery in our lifetime. So here at IJM, we've rescued over 70,000 people from human trafficking around the world. And I want to take you through that holistic approach that we take to do this. So it was mentioned a little in the video, but just want to expand upon it with you now. So the first step that we take is strengthening justice systems through partnerships. So partnerships with police, judges, and community leaders to respond to the violence and to ensure we're making safe communities that last. And this is important because it's what gets us to step 2, which is rescuing and restoring victims. We have identified places where people are trafficked and partner with local police to conduct rescue operations. And once rescued, we walk with these survivors on the path to restoration until they can thrive in freedom. And step 3 is bringing criminals to justice. We work alongside these justice systems to build strong cases against traffickers and hold them accountable under local laws. Because without accountability, this cycle will continue to happen. And so that is an important step of this process. And then the last step is scaling demand for protection. We convene and we equip champions, grassroots community leaders, survivors of trafficking, global corporations, and development institutions, all to protect people from slavery. And I know that tackling the issue of the reality that over 50 million people are still enslaved seems really overwhelming at times. I actually heard about this issue when I was in college many years ago and was really convicted by this problem that exists. And to me at the time, it felt really overwhelming, but here at IJM, we've proven that lasting change is possible. And I've actually had the chance firsthand to visit our office in Guatemala City, where our work is focused on combating violence against women and children. I actually got to go visit last summer, but when IJM began exploring opening an office, it was actually in 2005. Human rights experts actually said the system was too broken and would never be able to protect the poor, and that our mission would be impossible, basically. But now the Victims Institute actually exists in Guatemala, and it's centered around a trauma-informed model that was co-created by the government of Guatemala and IJM. And in the first 6 months of the model's implementation, they actually supported 4,647 survivors of violence, provided free legal counseling and representation, psychological support, and secured 117 convictions. It continues to run today. I actually had the opportunity, like I said, to visit it last summer, and it was beautiful to actually see that this is happening, that change is possible, and that with partnership with the government, it's happening in Guatemala City, and over the next couple of years, they're focused on taking it to the rest of the country. And I share this because it's just one example of progress that's taken place. And I hope that years down the road, we can all say that we had compassion when we learned that the world's poorest were trapped in everyday violence and that we were moved to make the violence stop. And I'm sure that all of you guys can attest to this, but there are so many troubles in the world that it can be overwhelming, like I mentioned, but at the end of the day, it's not our job to do everything, right? The best thing we can do is something, and that's how we'll see change happen in this world. So with that, I invite you to join the fight with us and just welcome any questions that you might have about IJM.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yes. So Amy, when you're getting these convictions, what type of sentencing are you encountering?
I think it, and I will caveat all of these answers with the fact that I've actually never personally worked in the field. And so I've mentioned this to Sam yesterday as well, but if I'm able to kind of provide resources and better answers after this, I'll be sure to send it to him and then he can kind of share with the group as well. But the convictions kind of depend on the case actually. And so a lot of the times, I probably should caveat this as well with the work that we do in each of the places that we work in depends on the area. And so for instance, like I mentioned in Guatemala, we work specifically combating violence against women and children. In places in Africa, we work with widows to protect against land theft, because that is an issue that's really prevalent in that area. In the Philippines, for instance, we combat online sexual exploitation of children. And so it kind of depends on the area that we're in, what work that we focus in on. But depending on that, the convictions really vary depending on what the case is. Sometimes we rescue children kind of on a one-off basis, but there are a lot of cases where we end up like in India, where we combat forced labor slavery. We find a lot of victims in brick kilns. And so a lot of the rescue operations that kind of take place there are rescuing hundreds of people in these brick kilns. And so depending on what the case is and who we've kind of rescued, that's the convictions kind of vary depending on those cases. So I don't know if that's super helpful and not probably very vague, but I can also kind of share specific cases and things like that later on.
Well, based on your experience, when you're making, let's say, arrests at a lower level, are you able to get to the head of the snake, the monster, to get those people who actually run the operations rather than the low level people?
Yeah. I think in a lot of cases with these rescue operations, a lot of our investigators work for months and years behind the scenes, depending on how big the rescue operation is. And I think convictions, I think we all know it doesn't happen overnight, but in a lot of cases where we have worked in these offices for many years and have been able to work with these police officials for quite a long time, it is we've been able to see these convictions kind of increase over time, and to see that that strong convictions do happen over time. And so I would say in most of the cases, we are able to, like you said, go after like the main perpetrator that has been kind of committing the crime over time. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Roger?
Hi, Amy. Yeah, I've got two questions. Here in the Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach area of Florida, there's a large Guatemalan population. Do you have any of your organization that works here in Palm Beach County?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we actually don't do any casework in the United States specifically. So we do have specific offices, like our headquarters is based in the United States. And then we have some advancement offices, which is kind of centered around fundraising and kind of funding the mission across the US. But all of our casework is global, and we don't do any work in the United States. And that's kind of because the way that our model works is that it doesn't work in the absence of any justice system. And so the reality prevents IJM from being most effective in things like war zones, failed states with military dictators, things like that. But because of that, on the flip side, it means that our model is most effective in places where foundational justice system capabilities are already in place, like the US. And so we actually, don't do any casework in the United States.
Second question is, are there any Rotary clubs that are doing any work with your organization that you know of?
Not that I know of. Sam might be able to answer that question better than I can, but yeah, not that I know of specifically.
Okay. And if the call that just came in went through to everybody, I apologize. I thought I turned my phone off.
All good.
No. Amy, my question is, even though there's not casework in the United States, are there, in your experience and what you've heard, like, do you know of any statistics or what organizations are doing things like, for example, I know there's not casework in the US, but have you come across any examples where some of this activity is perhaps being attempted to enter the United States? Like I'm certain that these things exist in the US, and even though we don't combat it from your perspective, like how does that work, or do you still come in contact with some of those things?
Yeah, definitely. We actually, there are many organizations like Polaris Project, 821, that does actually do work on the ground here in the US. And I think I'm sure a lot of people know too, a big like sporting events also, like places like the Super Bowl, like very big sporting events are actually key moments that traffickers and perpetrators or we see kind of an increase in these crimes. And so definitely there are statistics of this happening still in the US, and there are organizations that work on the ground here to combat it. And you'll kind of see that there are organizations that work in doing that with the holistic approach that IJM uses. There's organizations specifically that only focus in on kind of the aftercare portion of that in the US, just kind of like it is globally. But yeah, we kind of we have good relations with those organizations as well. And yeah.
Thanks for that. Jen, you had a question?
Yeah, I was wondering how someone like me, you know, I don't have the opportunities to travel a lot for Rotary, you know, right now with working and everything, but what can we do in the United States to get involved and make a difference for IJM?
Yeah, great question. I mean, even things like this is so great to even be able to talk about the issue and to raise awareness. Gary Haugen, our founder of International Justice Mission, kind of says it this way of like awareness won't make, you know, the biggest change, but it's the first step. Like being aware of the reality that people are still trapped in slavery is important. And so there are many ways. I mean, one of them is giving financially. And so we do have like a monthly giving program, and I can kind of drop the link later in the chat about specifically for a Rotary Club. But giving financially and giving monthly is one of the biggest programs that we rely heavily on for funding the mission of what happens in the field. It's, like I said, raising awareness through things like this. Right now, we are kind of focused in on hosting film screenings, which we've talked about with Sam, of hosting screenings of different survivor stories that we've kind of worked on with our creative team of specifically places in like Ghana and the Philippines, and kind of understanding more of specific survivor stories. But yeah, I mean, it's part of it is doing things like this and giving financially.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Amy, you brought it up. I forgot to mention it, but
yeah,
so that was something that we talked about. And just to kind of, you know, be transparent with the group here, I was kind of thinking and talking through some ideas with you and with your team about like how we can, you know, for example, you know, try to find you know, a movie theater or something nearby. I'm here in Port St. Lucie, Florida, but how I can arrange something like this to be shown, like imagine if there was a film and we could rent out a movie theater, you know, just one theater for a Saturday morning or something, just to kind of, again, advertise this and get the word out and try to get folks in to learn about something that, you know, me personally, I didn't know anything about until somewhat recently. But that was the idea that we were talking about. So if anyone's interested in that, by all means, let me know. The other questions that I had were, you know, the mission we recognize is kind of by definition outside the US. And I was wondering, what are so like when you said that there was rescues and we actually took children away, like are there partnership with other NGOs, or how does that work? Are there folks who sometimes make it to the US in the end of their story, or for the most part, are they staying in their home locations and there's just a partner like an NGO or even an orphanage or some kind of community organization locally that would kind of house those refugees, as it were? How's that work?
Yeah, I think it depends on all the survivors, but and I guess kind of the way that I like to talk about it is when IJM kind of goes into a community, our goal at the end of the day is for us not to be there in, let's say, like 10 years. Like, and it's like, I feel like sometimes when I first heard that, it felt like such a backwards idea of, oh, is that a bad thing that an office is closing? But it's actually part of our model. Like the way that our model exists is we go into these vulnerable communities and we want to work with NGOs, people that are already kind of doing the work, working with the justice system to strengthen and restore that justice system so that eventually the government officials and the police officers are the ones that are kind of holding those perpetrators accountable, like I mentioned. And so, yeah, the goal is for us not to be there at the end of the day, for these communities to be able to hold perpetrators accountable, for these people that are on the ground to be able to help restore victims and to kind of walk alongside them, and for these grassroots communities to be able to function on their own. And so with our kind of help with the trauma-informed care model. And so I think with some survivors, I feel like I've heard stories of some of them, if their dream one day to maybe come over to the US is part of their story, then I kind of have heard that. But I think majority of what I've heard is that a lot of them kind of go back to their own communities, kind of plant roots. And once they're kind of reunited with their family and able to kind of go through our restoration process as well, I hear a lot about them actually starting these grassroots organizations, which is really cool to hear about too, of survivors that have come out of trafficking and slavery. They become passionate about raising their voice on behalf of other people that are still trapped. And then they kind of work with organizations to be able to rescue others and to kind of be that voice that they didn't have when they were trapped. And so that's kind of been a cool thing to even see as well, of like they are redeeming this cycle that has injustice that have happened, and they are the ones that kind of go back to their communities and raise their own voice.
I don't want to do all the talking. I have another comment, but I do want to be aware that I'm talking a lot. Any other questions or comments? So Amy, my follow-up here, I was going to ask, is there anything that you could tell us that might surprise us? So something that I'm sure there's lots of great information on the webpage. I'm not asking you to read the webpage, but is there something that's not on the webpage, or something that stands out to you, or something that you tell people, like if you are walking and talking with your friends and you're going to have coffee in DC, what's something that people are always taken aback by, or maybe you're surprised by? Like, is there maybe a statistic or something that we would be like really just awestruck with? Is there anything that you can think of like that?
That's a great question. I don't know about awestruck, but I think for me personally, I think I am always just reminded, and this is so like just honest truth, of I've actually worked at International Justice Mission for 3 years now, and I have always just been taken aback by just the people that work at IJM. And I feel like that sounds cliche sometimes, and I don't know if that's like the most awestruck fact, but I really respect and honor the people that work here. Truly, I can say that they are some of the best people that you will ever meet. And I think for me, I meet people like in Guatemala when I visited, someone who's worked in investigations for over 15 years, and he has seen time and time again, has done the work and has actually participated in thousands of rescue operations and have seen these victims go through the restoration process. He is just a human, just like you and I. And I think I'm just so amazed by his tenacity and his perseverance of being in the work for that long, and still having so much belief that this could happen, that there are right now over 50 million people trapped in slavery, but that we can really see that end in our lifetime. And I think for me, I have, after meeting people like this, having conversations with people like this, meeting survivors face to face and seeing the joy that emanates from them, even after they have suffered the unimaginable years ago in their life, I am just so encouraged in that. And I also believe that this can end in our lifetime and in our generation. I got the chance, we hold this kind of global gathering yearly, and I had the chance to hear from a survivor from South Asia who and I get chills every time I kind of think about this, but she was in a brick kiln, was in forced labor slavery for many, many years, and is now a leading voice in a victim-centric organization in South Asia, where kind of she fights on behalf of people that are still trapped. And she got up on stage during our global gathering and said, this ends with our generation. Like, this ends with my generation. And to hear her say that after she was trapped in slavery for so long was so encouraging, and so moving to hear from someone who truly believes that and is fighting every single day to make sure that becomes truth, that this injustice will end with her generation. So I think for me, my biggest takeaway always is that the people that I work alongside with and the people that we partner with in these societies and communities, I just have so much respect for. And I truly can't think of a better honor to work alongside these people. So I don't know if I answered your question, but to me, that is a huge takeaway for me every single day working here.
You did. Ailish has the question, and I'm going to plant a seed for you in mind. So we just said end of my lifetime, but then also you said something surprised me. I did not know that there was a trending up recently. So I'd like to hear more about that. Ailish, did you have a question?
Ailish, you're on mute.
Yes, I certainly am. I'm very bold. I apologize. Hi, Amy. Thank you so much. I'd like you to tell me, of all the things that you know and have been through and have heard of and seen and experienced, can you tell us what is the one thing that keeps you up at night?
I think that's a great question. I think being in part of this fight, what's hard is that understanding that there's always people that we can help on the street, right? Like there's still people that right now are suffering through the unimaginable, and that is a reality, I think, that keeps us all fighting every single day until everyone is protected. Part of our goal, we have this huge vision in 2030, and it's I believe it's to protect 500 million people. And I think for us, the goal is not to just keep rescuing people, right? It's eventually we want this to be able to be that communities are protected so that this violence never happens in the first place. Like our goal is that this never happens to kids, to women, to men, all around the world. And so I think for me, and even talking to people in the field as well that work in this day to day, and that they're actually in their boots on the ground and rescuing people from this violence every day, is that right now there will always be people that are still suffering. And so I think that kind of lights a fire under us and reminds us that right now, like the work is really important now more than ever. And this kind of goes back to Sam's question, that the statistics actually have risen over the last 5 years. And I believe that came out last fall, that the numbers have risen, and that kind of has to do with the 3 C's is what we talk about. One is climate, one is conflict with the war that has happened, and then the other is COVID. Just with the pandemic, the reality was that a lot of people were obviously forced to be at home. And so even if you think about places like in the Philippines, where the work that we're combating is online sexual exploitation of children, those casework numbers actually rose during the pandemic because a lot of people were stuck in their homes. And so, those are kind of the 3 reasons why the numbers kind of had a huge uptick. But I think I have to remind myself too, that it's not that the work that we're doing hasn't been working. It's really that the circumstances of the world, it kind of caused the numbers to increase. But like I said, it's kind of lighting a fire under our butts to remind us that the work is now more important than ever.
So climate, COVID, conflict.
Conflict, yeah.
Mike, you had a question?
Yes, kind of a 2-prong. Did you have people in Qatar leading up to the World Cup, because we know there was forced labor there that's been exposed?
Yeah.
And then also do you have people on the ground in China, which I assume is a massive problem?
Yeah, we actually don't have an office in Qatar, so I'm actually not sure of any work that we were doing around the World Cup. We do have relationships, even if we don't have an office in a specific country. We have a lot of partnerships just through government officials and kind of training people on the work that we're doing in our model. So not that I've heard of specifically, but I can also follow up with that internally and see if I can get a better answer for you. And then around the China question, we actually do not do work there. And that kind of goes back to the way that our model works and it exists, is that we do need the presence of kind of like a working justice system, and it kind of prevents us from being effective in military dictatorships and different things like that. So yeah, we aren't able to do work in China right now.
So I guess the same would apply to Mike. I'm kind of thinking the same thing. I guess the same would apply. There's probably nothing you can do in DPRK. Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, DPRK is just one giant slave state. Really, that's all it is. Any other questions? I have another.
Yeah.
So I feel like I just wanted to call you on the phone and just record the whole thing.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any other comments or follow-ups?
Ailish's hand is up.
It might be still up from the last time there, I think.
Ailish.
And so Amy, I guess I'd forgotten to ask the question. I think I should have written them down. Mike, thanks for reminding about the FIFA thing, because I think that was kind of top of mind for so many. Like that made such a big stink. And then going back to your comment, that really struck home for me, Amy, when you said something to the effect of we can't change everything, but we can do something. And then the other thing you said that that really resonated with me was basically something along the lines of, there's so many things out there that need our attention, and there's so much, help that needs to be done in the world. There's so many things that we could devote ourselves to: time, money, blood, sweat, whatever. And thinking about that, like, I've always struggled with that on a personal level. I've struggled with that because, sorry, I didn't plan this out, but like, there's obviously, I could give money to a homeless organization, or I could buy a cheeseburger for a guy on the corner anywhere in the United States, and that would be helping someone. And you could make an argument that, that theoretically that, that $8 value meal could do much more for someone in another area of the world. So I've always struggled with that. And I've always struggled with, like, what projects do we as Rotarians do? What projects do we as humanitarians do in our daily life, and how we prioritize, and like, I've personally been to Nepal, and I've done projects in Nepal, and I've seen that poverty there. And I always thought to myself, why didn't I just give the money? Why'd I waste all my money on a flight? Like, I could have done so much more good if I had not gone. And so my question to you is, and if you can answer this, what's the philosophical approach to your organization, and how would they, prioritize some of those things? It doesn't sound like people like Mike's a lawyer, by the way. It doesn't seem like you're flying folks like Mike around the world to do law, because he clearly doesn't know the law in Thailand. So is the approach, to spend money locally and to find the best and most effective use of funds locally? What's that whole process look like, just being a financial steward?
Yeah, I think a lot of different things, but I think what we talk about a lot is some part of the most helpful kind of allocation of funds is through that monthly program, where people like you and I just give a certain amount monthly, and that goes towards our most urgent needs. And so most urgent needs, like that bucket, is used for what it is talked about, most urgent needs. And so we're able to kind of pull from that when we need it. But then there's also a lot of people who give towards specific areas. And so let's say your most the cause in your heart, you're most focused about the work combating violence against women and children in Guatemala, then you kind of are able to give towards that specific bucket. And I've seen also, like, we're talking about Rotary Club, like clubs that kind of get together and they say, hey, we're going to fund a rescue operation. And that's about 6,300. And people that kind of come together to want to give towards specific things. And we kind of work with foundations, with major donors, a lot of different people that kind of fund specific things. And so, yeah, and so I think it kind of depends on what you're passionate about and what you want to invest in. But a lot of people choose to give monthly because it does provide that security for us, even as an organization, to give towards the most urgent needs and to not kind of be focused in on a specific area. But I will say a lot of clubs like Rotary or kind of different organizations, people do choose to give towards specific causes and casework types that are most close to their heart. And so, and we can talk about that same as well and just kind of show you the different types of casework that we have in the different offices that we kind of work in. But I can also share, there is like a gift catalog that is on our website that kind of breaks down monetarily what it costs to fund a rescue operation, to provide a new widow that is kind of struggling with land theft, how to get back on her feet. Different aftercare programs, how much that costs. And so we're able to kind of break down monetarily a lot of the things and the resources that we kind of work with on a day-to-day basis. And that also helps to kind of tangibly put our mind around how much things would cost.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll ask again, anybody else? Any other comments or questions for Amy?
And what I can do too, I know that someone, I think it was, Jennifer included the Get Involved link, but I can just provide a small giving link as well. So if you feel led to give today, we would welcome that as well. But I can put that in the link in the chat as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Really appreciate it. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to, in my personal life, nothing to do with Rotary. I'm excited to do more and more with IJM. I'm excited to try to get some things kicked off locally in my community. And if anyone else is so inclined, let me know. We can definitely have that discussion, or you can contact Amy directly. Is that okay, Amy? If anyone
Yes.
contacts you? Okay.
Yes, of course. Yeah. And I can put my email in the chat, but I'm sure Sam can also circulate that later.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you so much. It's just, every video on the website, when I go to the Vimeo, and you can, if by the way, if anybody wants the video, I'll put that link as well in the newsletter and share that. But you can just scroll through the Vimeo link that I was showing at the beginning of the presentation, and it just gets me, it gets me simultaneously, choked up, depressed, angry, but also happy that people are taking action in the world, and that I have an opportunity to be a part of that as well. So thank you for everything that you do, Amy. Thank you for everything that IJM does. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you for talking to us today. And with that, what I'll do, if everybody's okay with it, I can hit stop on the recording. And if anybody wants to hang out and chat and fellowship after, we can. Otherwise, Amy, we bid you a wonderful afternoon and have a great week. Thanks again.
Yes, of course. Thanks so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much.